Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. This is a labor of love for me, so I'm glad that you are here to watch it. I am so thankful for that. Again, I haven't had the stitches taken out of my foot yet as of this recording, so I have to record it here in this room, which has a lot of ambient noises. So I apologize for that, but because my leg is laid up, I can't be in the normal place that I do my recording, which is a little bit more quieter. So I apologize for the ambient noise. But this week we're going to talk about a manga. Actually, it's a manga compilation, and it is a bunch of short stories by Satoshi Kon. Yes, Satoshi Kon, The Perfect Blue, Paprika, all his stuff. The great mangaka. He's done so many things in his short life. This compilation came out about a year, I think, after his death. So these are stories that were published at one point, but they decided to make a sort of an omnibus about them. So let's get So yes, Satoshi Kon, the great mangaka that gave us some incredible anime like Paprika and Perfect Blue and a whole bunch of other things that he was so good at and are still to this day wonderful to watch. And he died tragically very young. I believe he was 46 when he passed away, which, I mean, think about it for a moment. What if he had stayed alive? I mean, what would we have gotten from him? That would have been really interesting. If we could just say, oh, if only he had lived, we would have gotten this, that, and the other thing. It's a shame. So anyway, there was about a year after his death, untimely death, a compilation was made of a bunch of short stories that were published, and they were put into this omnibus with the title of Dream Fossils. So let's get into the particulars here. Satoshi Kon, born in October 12th, 1963, died on August 24th, 2010, age 46. I'm not going to go into the details of his death. It's just sad. The book itself, looking it up. Yes, Dream Fossil, The Complete Stories of Satoshi Kon. So it was released in 2011, and it's a collection of his short manga works that did get published. They were published between 84 and 1989, I believe. So in this 5-year period. And it's kind of a snapshot of what he was thinking, what he was doing at that time, and kind of gives us an idea of his vision of where he wanted to go with his stories. And each story is kind of unique. There is a lot of the first few are about kids playing baseball. So, Kon was a baseball fan, and he kind of wrote about that a little bit. So these stories were kind of fun little stories of kids playing baseball. Now you're going, oh, so what's the twist? There isn't. It's literally slice of life. Kids playing baseball. And I found it as I was convalescing, reading. I got this book, by the way, by the pretty lady who gives me food for my birthday. And so as I've been healing, I read this manga, this volume. So a lot of the stories are about kind of like slice of life of playing baseball, or it could be as some of the stories are about being a young man, missed opportunities in love, or sometimes comedic. There's a comedic love story in there where this guy, he and his friend decide to go to the beach, and things happen, and he is trying to figure out whether he's going to hook up with his old friend of his and see if they can make something work, or if he's going to be, getting it on with this girl that he just met. And the ending is quite funny. It's very comedic. And so you get some of those stories where they have comedic endings. It's kind of funny. But you do get a few of these where it's just kind of like, oh, okay, here's the Satoshi Kon that we know and love. And one of the stories is a future story where there are people with powers. And it was supposed to be in an addendum to Otomo's Akira. So when Akira, or Akira, however you want to pronounce it, came out, different artists kind of got involved and kind of said, well, here's the world of Akira and here's what we're thinking, what this world might look like. And this was Satoshi Kon's entry, where the people who were starting to develop powers, they're shunted off into the old part of the city that's been kind of destroyed but being rebuilt. And the people who are normal tend to come in, and these kidnappings and things take place, and people don't know what's going on, people with powers. And suddenly you start seeing these robots showing up, and these robots have abilities, and people are going, wait a minute. So there's your Satoshi Kon there. And it starts with him as our protagonist as a woodworker, and he's doing a bust of his girlfriend, and that's very important. So when you read the story, you'll pay particular note to that. There's another sort of sci-fi thing where it's a student who's rebellious. It's kind of a sort of dystopian Japan where people who are unruly get sent to a re-education center where they're taken and they're kind of just, basically dumbed down, so to speak, and, made very passive. And so it's about this kid who's rebelling against that. We have another one that is set in the feudal, the Warring States period, and it's called Wara, I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's after a battle, and the losing side is trying to get away back to their castle. And in getting to their castle, both his party, which is only a few people left, and his pursuers are being hunted by what they think is the spirit. And there's a climatic battle between the pursuers, the remnants of this small band, and the entity that's coming after them. And it's a very, very interesting story. It's not like if you did not know Satoshi Kon did this, kind of like the baseball manga, you wouldn't know it was Satoshi Kon, but it's a very, very interesting and engaging story. So, there's a lot of these interesting stuff. It's Satoshi Kon, a great mangaka. So, that's all I have to say, I think, to get you to read this, right? Again, 2 thumbs up. It's Satoshi Kon, one of my personal favorites, and definitely give it a try. One of the other interesting things about this book is that at the end of it, there is an interview with a musician that Satoshi Kon particularly liked and wanted to use for his films. So the guy who does a lot of the music for a lot of the films and anime that Satoshi Kon did was kind enough to give an interview and talk about Satoshi Kon, particularly at the end of his life, and saying how he was, and kind of the musician's perspective on Satoshi Kon's work in anime. And so that alone is a lot. It's a short interview, but it's a pretty good gem of information. So that's worth having the volume itself, honestly. So yeah, Satoshi Kon's Fossil Dreams. Most of the stories are very un-Satoshi Kon, what we would think of Satoshi Kon, but they're still so amazingly good and well drawn, and still Satoshi Kon, if you know what I mean, in terms of quality. So please, please, please give it a go. If you see it at your public library, support your public libraries. And see if they have it, or they can get it for you, or buy it at the store, or buy it off of Amazon, whatever. And yeah, enjoy it, because it is a pretty good read. All right, so that's it for this week. A manga review of Fossil Dreams by Satoshi Kon. Stories by Satoshi Kon that are compiled together. A series of short manga from 1984 to 1989. Give it a go, and let me know what you thought about it down below, particularly if you're a Satoshi Kon fan. Great mangaka. We lost him way too soon. So yeah, give it a go. And that's going to be it for this week. And again, I'm kind of doing this recording. I pre-record a lot of these videos, so this is the third one I'm doing in this batch. And again, I can't stress enough, if you get yourself injured, make sure you take care of yourself so you don't get infected like my foot did. and cause you a lot of problems, which winds you up in bed convalescing for weeks at a time. So be healthy, stay good, because I love you guys, and I do want to see you out in the wild, because I am going to be going out there to different stuff. I am intending to go to Gen Con. Here in Baltimore is going to be Maruka Con. I may be doing some panels at that particular convention. I'm definitely doing panels at Gen Con. You'll see those two down below. I think there is going to be, I'm going to Anime USA, of course, so I'll be doing that. And so if you're out in the wild and you happen to see me, please come up and say hi. So that's going to be it. Love you guys. And as always, watch more anime.